Ajnanatimirandasya Yananjanashalakaya Chakrurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namashrisham Manumabhi Sachiputram Matra Sarupam Rupam Tasya Grajamurupurim Madhurim Gosavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhikamadavasam Prapto yasya pratitha kripaya Shri Gurum tam natusmi Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu vyaivacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nikhila Shruti Moli Ratnamaladiti Nirajita Padapankajanta Aji Mukta Kulairupashyamanam Paritasvam Harinam Samshrayami Anarpita Chirim Thirat Karunayavatirna Kalho Samarpaitum Munnatochvalarasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipitaha Sada Hridaye Khandare Spurato Vasachinandanaha Ajjanulambita Bujjo Kanakavadatu Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Ladini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasyanmayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadalakshay Shikta Shakamadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam मन महाप्रभु की जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्री नामदेव धाम परिक्रम की जय गौर भक्त वृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि बोल Good morning all, Pranam, welcome and hey, after a day of rest, hopefully on some level. It was more dynamic than any other day, but anyhow. Yeah. So we are continuing the second part of our parikram, basically. We have finished the first part. We're entering to the second part. where today we will be visiting Sri Dameshwar Mahaprabhu, where we'll find this beautiful deity, first original deity basically of Mahaprabhu, worshipped by Vishnupriya Devi, Mahaprabhu's wife, and also we'll be visiting Samadhi Bhajan Kutir of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, another great personality. We already have been visiting places of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Siddhar Maharaj, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But what about Jagannath Das Babaji? So we'll go there today. And of course, these days we have also been exploring different tattvas, different departments of reality. We have been talking in the mornings about Gaur Tattva, about Gadadhar Tattva, about Nityananda Tattva. We have also been, of course, exploring Advaita Tattva, Srivas Tattva, visiting their places. We have been sharing different leelas and different concepts related to Srinavaduptam. So today I felt maybe we can explore a little bit, and it may take more than one morning, we'll see, but I think it's an important tattva to visit, which is Nam Tattva, the truth about the name. Because Mahaprabhu, Gaur Lila, the name is there in the center and everything is revolving around that. So we can spend some time trying to reflect about the truths of the holy name. Nam Sankirtan, Yuga Dharma, part of what the gift of Mahaprabhu came to give, the extension of his own inner experience. We have been talking a lot about the inner experience of Sriman Mahaprabhu and how that overflows him and extends to the world and sprinkles all of us. And a very unique form that takes is the name. And again, we are visiting today Vishnupriya Devi. We will hear later very unique way she was embracing the name, her chanting. Jagannath Das Babaji, another great personality, addicted to the name. So in honor to them, we can share some thoughts about Nam Tattva, the reality of the holy name. So as we were saying the other day, the Bhagavad Gita concludes at the point where the Bhagavatam starts, and the Bhagavatam's zenith points to the Gaur Lila, right? Bhagavad Gita's conclusion, chapter 18, verse 66. Pandits here, please. With security, straight. You are wrong, I'll let you know, but you will not. You are going. Yeah, good. If not, I was taking away from you the Bhakti Shastra degree. So that's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, almost one of the last verses, chapter 18, verse 66, where Krishna basically tells Arjuna, after telling him, follow Dharma in the beginning of the book, and says, take all Dharma and throw it away out of the window. And Mamekam Sharanam, Braja. Follow me, come to me exclusively in Braj. We could read that verse in that way. That's the ultimate Dharma. I've been spoken about Dharma in so many ways, but let's get real. Dharma ultimately means come to me passionately, intimately, lovingly, in the way I am in Braj. That's the conclusion of the Gita. And there the Bhagavatam starts. Second verse, Dharma proito kaitavo tra. Many other things. But that line, Dharma proito kaitavo, means in the Bhagavatam we reject all notions, all cheating notions of Dharma, cheating religions, spiritual bypassing, no? Cheating in the name of religion, Dharma praito kaitavo, kaitav Dharma. All that is rejected. All relative notions of Dharma have no much place here. We try to show here Paradharma, Sabai Pumsam Paro Dharma, which is Prema Dharma. So Gita concludes at the point where the Bhagavatam starts. And the Bhagavatam says, here we will speak about the ultimate Dharma, the ultimate function of the soul. And then the Bhagavatam's zenith, as we spoke some days ago, culminates in Vrindavan, culminates in the Rasa Lila, culminates especially in this moment where Krishna says, Napari ham nirabadya samjujam sasadu kritam vibudaya sapiva jamavajan durjarageha shrinkala sambrishya tatva pratiyatu sadhana. confessing to the gopis, I cannot repay back your love. I'm eternally indebted. I'll try my best, coming as a sadhu once in a day of Brahma. But your love is such quality. You have rejected everything for my sake, especially these things that are so difficult to reject for everyone. You just threw them so naturally. Sarva dharmam parityaja. All notions of dharma, being a good wife, a good citizen, a good neighbor, a good, just to run after me in the flute. That's real sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. So Krishna now is saying, this too much, I'll appear as Mahaprabhu trying to repay back your debt. So again, conclusion of the Gita, that's where the Bhagavatam begins. Conclusion of the Bhagavatam, that's where Gaur Lila begins. And to make that case even strongly, the very last verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, very last verse, Nama Sankirtanam Jasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam Pranamoduka Samanas Tannamami Harimpar. Bhagavatam concludes offering pranam to Hari, whose transcendental chanting of the holy names, Nam Sankirtan, no, relieves one of all suffering and so on. So the last verse of the Bhagavatam says Nam Sankirtan. So again, the Bhagavatam leaves us at the feet of Gaur Lila, and it's Nam Sankirtan. Again, Gaur Lila and Nam Sankirtan are not separable. Separable, you can say? I mean, are not separable, which means are inseparable. So yeah, the name is central to Gaur Lila. This name is central for us in one sense. This is another one of our birthplace, the name. Pranam, we are born to the reality of Gaur Lila, to the reality of all that we can be. And for Mahaprabhu himself, again, he embraced the Bhagavatam as his heart and soul. And the result of his embracing the Bhagavatam was the explosion of the Sankirtan movement in his life. No? Like this implies, okay, you take a book, you embrace that book, and then you end up dancing and singing. It means the essence of that book was that. No? So Mahaprabhu embraces the Bhagavatam to its core, and in practice that translates as Nam Sankirtan. So Mahaprabhu himself, as we know, he didn't write much or basically nothing. He composed a few verses, Sanskrit verses, and the main compositions that we know coming from him are the Sikshastakam, these 8 verses that are attributed to Sri Chaitanya Dev by Rupa Goswami in his Padyavali. In the Padyavali, they appear in different order, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami puts them in 8 in the order we know of, and he calls it the Sikshastakam prayers. That's the very last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Right? That's the final note, the Gaur Lila for Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So in Sikshastakam, which means 8 instructions basically, Mahaprabhu outlines the unfolding of the spiritual journey in terms of the chanting of the holy name. No, like it starts praising Nam Sankirtan, and then each verse is a successive depiction of what happens when you embrace Nam Sankirtan. What should happen along the journey? So it's like a roadmap to the spiritual landscape taken by the hand of the holy name. Something like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur made that important point in his Bhajan Rahas. He said how each one of the 8 verses of the Sikshastakam describe the 9 stages of bhakti that Rupa Goswami described before. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangana, Bhajana, Kriyanartha, Nivritti, Nishta, Rucha, Shakti, Bhava, Prem. I won't write those 9 in the white book. 9 stages of bhakti. We need another retreat for that. We need another retreat for the Sikshastakam. We are here giving trailers of future retreats we will have in eternity, because we don't have time in this life. That's too much. So we'll briefly touch upon that today. A few words about Sikshastakam in connection to the name, because again, one thing and the other are inseparable. Sikshastakam is the only written legacy of Sri Chaitanya, and it happens to be all about the name. So whatever message he has to give to the world in written form, it's about the name. So he is about the name. I will mostly spend some time with the first 4 verses, which I will say are the most relatable for where most of us are in their spiritual journey, because again, each verse is a deeper and higher stage. So the last 4 verses are beautiful, but they may be a little bit more difficult to relate with. like streams of tears falling from my eyes. Like, okay, nice. I'm not there yet, but thank you for showing the way. So let's begin with verse 1 of Shikshastakam. I won't recite the whole verse, no, we will go word by word, but just will be conveying the essence of what we want to mention here. So the first verse of Shikshastakam is a praise of Nam Sankirtan. We find this beautiful one line, which could be one of our motto, you say? Motto in our life, which is Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Which basically means supreme victory to Sri Krishna Sankirtan. To the chanting congregational complete. Well, we have to go in a minute to what do we mean by Sankirtan. Sankirtan. But let's go to the very first word that comes in. Oh, so Bhaktirasa was taking over and pouring all her insights in the white. It's a blank page waiting to be filled, so feel free to. So what's the very first word of the only written legacy of Mahaprabhu? How it all starts? You tell me. Cheto. Stop there. Not Darpana, not Marjanam, Cheto. Cheto means Chitta. Chitta means subconscious mind. The Chitta is the subconscious mind in contemporary language. So the whole written legacy of Mahaprabhu invokes that principle. There is something called the Chitta. There's something called subconscious mind. There is something called a realm where so many things are happening, but you are not aware of them. And many of the things you do, say, think, feel, actually come from there, but you don't know about them. Somehow you're being moved like a puppet without knowing. That's tragic. So we need to do something about it. So he starts saying, Cheto Darpana Marjana. Clean the mirror of the subconscious. In other words, live your life in such a way that you make the unconscious conscious. Right? Of course, first, because before working on our subconscious, we need to work on our conscious. Whatever we are conscious of, we need to deal with that. Because until we are conscious of things we know we need to work and we are doing nothing about it, don't expect to become aware of the subconscious. First, deal with the conscious. When you properly deal with that, the subconscious we will become conscious of the subconscious. And there are many layers of that. So Mahaprabhu says, the first effect of Nam Sankirtan, there are 7 mentioned in the first verse, Chitta Darpana Marga. You will be gaining gradual awareness of your subconscious mind. Welcome to Nam Sankirtan. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna. Oh, don't be scared. Subconscious can be scary. But that's part of the result. You start to chant sincerely, hopefully, and you may realize, oh, again, as we're talking the other day, I thought I will be floating like a log in an eternal ocean of ecstasy. Yeah, that will happen. That's it. That's this 5th, 6th, and 7th effect of the name. But first, let's be realistic. Cheto Darpana Marga. First, we have to have a good battle with the subconscious. Battle. Again, there are no enemies. We have to befriend all those dimensions. But it may feel like a battle. It may feel like a succession of births and deaths. So all of this has to do with the name. No, don't lose sight. We're talking about the name here. But Mahaprabhu chooses Chitta to begin with. Sikshastakam, the name. What happens when you start chanting? What happens when you come to Navadvip Dham Parikram? Hopefully you float in an ocean of Ananda, but you will be triggered by stuff, and there will be conflict, and we will feel like unsettled and conflict. And I told you in advance in our Zoom lecture, don't complain about it. Be okay with it. It's part of life. It's part of, okay, something is moving. Something is, the dial is being steered. No? So what needs to come, comes. When we need to see, is seen. It's not about the environment is wrong. Everyone is to blame. Srila Maharaj will say the environment is friendly. If we see There are bad people, bad stuff, bad situations, wrong. This shouldn't be happening. We are invited to recalibrate ourselves. GPS, recalculating, realigning. So that's the first word of Shikshasana. Chetan. Then again, Mahaprabhu will say other things. Baba Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, you will transcend the forest fire of material existence, and the descent of bhakti in its beautiful form will come. Nanandam Buddhi Bhardanam, you will be immersed into an ocean of ever-increasing bliss. Pratipadam Purnam Brita Swadhanam, you will be relishing the totality of the nectar of immortality at every step. Beautiful. Right? Snapanam, what was it? Pratipadam Purnam Brita Swadhanam, Sarvatma Snapanam. Now your whole being, your whole self will be drenched and bathed into all this. Yes, but first, do something about your subconscious. First things first. There's a clear sequence. He's making that clear, so our project is realistic, but we don't deceive ourselves. So, again, I say before, Srimad Bhattan begins saying, Dharma Proyukta Kaitabo. We reject all cheating in the name of religion. We don't want to cheat ourselves in the name of bhakti. And the Bhattan concludes in Nam Sankirtan, whose main first effect is Chetodarpana Marjana. Right? So we are invited to engage in the chanting of the name from a spirit of not cheating ourselves, not self-deception. Right? You follow my point? Because if not, again, Bhagavatam starts, do not cheat yourself in the name of religion, then concludes in Nam Sankirtan. So that implies that Nam Sankirtan should include not cheating yourself in the name of religion, which means I chant the name, and whatever the name wants to show, I will look at that, at the eyes of that. I will don't turn my face away. Oh, I don't like that part. Bring lots of ecstasy only. Meanwhile, I'm looking in that direction. Let me know when ecstasy has come. That's not how ecstasy comes. So anyhow, initial thoughts on verse 1 of Sikshastakam regarding the name. Number 2, second verse. Again, with verse 1, we could do a whole retreat just verse 1, that we are just touching upon some relevant points here, hopefully. So in the second verse, Mahaprabhu very beautifully is depicting the glories of the name, right? Nam namakari bahudani jasarva shaktis tatrarpita nijamita smaranina kalaha etadrishi tabakripa bhagavan mamapi. Stop there. No, not last line yet. First 3 lines, Mahaprabhu is showing profound gratitude and appreciation for what's in the name. And how, in one sense, all that, no, because he's saying, you have unlimited names. In every one of those names, all your Shaktis are invested. There are no hard and fast rules to chant those names. Oh, Bhagavan, your mercy is such. Oh my gosh. Mahaprabhu is saying, oh my gosh. He's gosh, but he's saying, oh my gosh. So he's showing deep appreciation for the matchless gifts coming through the name, for Krishna's unconditional love, basically, because he's giving himself through the name in such a generous way without us having done anything to deserve it. So that's Krishna's unconditional love. Recent podcast we did with Giri Govardhan Prabhu, probably you have not been having time to watch podcasts these days. But we talked a lot about Krishna's unconditional love and how this verse of Shikshastakam is pointing to that. The first 3 lines. Then comes the 4th line. Kintu, Mahaprabhu is saying in Bengali, but Durdaiva midrishami hajjanina. But my misfortune is such that I have no attraction for the name. So he's first showing deep appreciation, acknowledging the gift, acknowledging the uniqueness and matchlessness of the gifts. And then comes the contrast. Despite such generous dispensation, I don't have anurag. I'm not spontaneously drawn to the name. So it's a healthy balance of lamentation. He's not starting with 3 lines of lamentation. He started with 3 lines of appreciation. First, Om, right? Yes, positive appreciation. All this is coming to my life. All this costless mercy. That means that Krishna loves me unconditionally. Thank you, Ki Jai. Beautiful. Now, in that context, why I'm not so attracted? I can understand in theory this is so incredible, but there's something getting in the way of me being irresistibly drawn to that. What's that? So Mahaprabhu enters into that mood, inviting for anartha nibritti. This verse speaks about bhajana kriya and anartha nibritti, how we are to conduct ourselves in our practice with appreciation, with gratitude, and anartha nibritti, with the willingness to be introspective about what's getting in the way at this precise chapter of my journey from having the next experience I'm supposed to be having. We are always invited to a new experience of the Absolute. We feel prevented from that. What's getting in the way? Again, we are not to blame the environment, the world, someone else, but what can I do? For which type of mercy should I pray or should I open my heart to? So in this second verse, Mahaprabhu is showing that. And as you can see so far, hopefully, all these verses are about the chanting, but it's not limited to the moment of chanting. This is how we are supposed to live our life, to conduct ourselves through 24/7. It's not just when I sit and chant, when I pick the mridanga, okay, nam nam akaribahu. No, it's when you are bathing and walking and eating and sleeping and relating, as we will see in the next verse even more. So anartha nibritti, deconstruction of false values. That means anartha nibritti. We did a whole retreat in Austria. What is anartha nibritti really? It's not just I chant my 16 rounds per day and automatically, magically, everything disappears, all obstacles, and I'm there. We have to do our part. We have to be introspective. We have to think. We have to develop some sensitivity, what may be getting in the way. We have to be first grateful and appreciative. So all this and more, verse 2 of 6. That's for you to get a glimpse of how much is in these verses, how much this relates to the name. And then finally we come to verse 3. We need a separate retreat for verse 3. Trinada pisunichena tarora pisahishnuna amani namanadina kirtaniya sadahari. In one sense, is the most important thing Mahaprabhu ever said. This is the golden rule of the golden Lord, which shows us our golden potential, opens a golden door for our golden prospect. Everything is golden. But when you hear the verse, again, still we may not feel that much gold there. We may feel like, oh, that's bitter. No, that level of humility, that level of tolerance, no, be humble like a blade of grass, tolerant than a tree, offer respect to everyone. Don't be so anxious about people, acknowledging your existence so much like you are the center of the universe. In that spirit, you will be able to chant the name of Hari. Oops. There's this saying in Bengal, oh, when I heard about the mood of Mahaprabhu and his gift of the world and generosity, I felt, yes, I'm in. But when I heard the third verse of Shikshastaka, I thought, oops, I'm out. But no, it's a gradual process. This verse speaks about Nishta, which is probably a stage that most of us have not yet attained, but is probably the next stage to attain, which is to be stable in bhakti, no? Not to be in excessive undulation, no? Ups and downs, ups. In the beginning, maybe like this. No? Eventually, the undulation becomes like this. Still, there's undulation, less. Nishta. And from Nishta, it's like... So Nishta means stability. Sorry. Stability in what? In showing all these virtues that this verse is speaking about. No? Stability in being humble. And again, humble doesn't mean degrade yourself, feel bad about yourself, as we talked many times already. Be humble like a blade of grass. Bend like the blade of grass does. The blade of grass bends without breaking. So bend in a way that doesn't break you. Bend in a dignifying way, but still bend. Right? Learn to be humble. Learn to put your head on the ground in a way that is dignifying for you and everyone. There has to be a way. No? If not, we throw out the baby away with the bathwater. We become humble in a way that is toxic, or we reject humility altogether because we just got the toxic version of it and we don't want to know anything with that. But we don't want to know anything with humility in any form whatsoever, and that's not the idea. So how to be humble in a dignifying way? Again, when you are confronted with something great, deep, beautiful, undeservable, you're humbled by that. But it's beautiful. You are in front of the ocean, you are in front of a redwood forest tree, you feel small. But you feel in awe and wonder and beauty. So there's a way to be humble and let that be dignifying, right? So this verse is about Nishtha. Let's try to gradually attain stability in healthy humility, healthy tolerance. Tolerance doesn't mean just tolerance. Tolerance means forgiveness. No, it's not just, okay, I have to tolerate all of you guys. What to do? I have still, 5-6 days of tolerating you? Well, that's how, hopefully you are not translating the experience of the retreat in that way. Okay, we have 5 days left of tolerance, of tolerating each other. Then, finally, I don't have to tolerate anyone. Can run back to my private chamber where I don't have to tolerate anyone. That doesn't look like spiritual progress. Running away from opportunities for applying this verse. So tolerance actually means that, like that of the tree. The tree is not so much tolerating, the tree is giving fruit, giving air, giving shelter, giving everything. As we read yesterday, even like sandalwood tree, giving its fragrance to everyone unconditionally. Gradually getting there. And whenever I have to tolerate, I will transform tolerance as an opportunity of further giving myself. Giving includes forgiving, right? That's why it's part of the word. If you want to give, you have to learn to forgive. How many times, as we always say it, Nanda Kumar, footnote here, you have to learn to forgive.
Not give when you were saying not excluding ourselves.
Thank you. So that includes ourselves, and many times that may need to begin with ourselves. But it shouldn't be limited to ourselves, because again, our self is not ourself. Now, it's not like I belong to me and I exist in my own isolated bubble. I have nothing to do with everyone else. We are interconnected beings. So when I'm forgiving myself, somehow that extends to others. And hopefully when I forgive others, that extends to myself, because we exist always in relationship. So that's the main point of this verse of Shikshastakam. All these qualities, respect, humility, tolerance, that's to be expressed in relationship. Right? It invites for relationality, for an awareness of relationality. These are not so much virtues to apply when I'm in my private room chanting my morning japa, because that's pretty easy, right? I go into my room, okay, now I'll be more humble than a tree, I'm more tolerant than this and that, and respect everyone, there's no one. No. So the real deal is waiting outside of the door of your Bhajan Kutir, in one sense. Or in one sense, the Bhajan Kutir is beyond the Bhajan Kutir. Everything is the Bhajan Kutir. We need to enter into the cave and into the chamber and pray and be ourselves with the divine in prayer. That's perfect. But then if we are doing our homework properly, we leave our prayer chamber and the whole world becomes a bigger prayer chamber. And whatever we did there is to be put to test in how we relate to each other. And yes, I know we fail miserably in that arena many times, right? But that's what brings us to reality, because I can be in my own room thinking, oh, I'm so advanced, I'm chanting here, it feels so nice. But then we don't know how to talk to each other, how to think. We become judgmental, impatient. We don't tolerate anything. So that shows where we are actually. You want to see where you are? See yourself in relationships. Because who we are is a being in relationship. We don't exist without relationships. So when we are in actual relationship, we see where we are. And if it's not the most glorious place, don't over chastise yourself. Just be thankful that, okay, I'm being shed light on where I actually am, so I can be realistic and I can work on my project from where I actually am, not from a fictitious idea of where I think I am. Again, kind of dharma. We don't want to cheat ourselves in the name of bhakti. We don't want to think I am somewhere where I'm not. No? We want to acknowledge where we are. Swe adhikare janishta saguna parikirtita. Bhagavatam say, try to acknowledge your adhikar, which means try to acknowledge where you are. That's real beauty. And you can say, but where I am, it's a mess. Bhagavatam say, that's real beauty. God bless this mess, as they say. Because at least you are honestly, sincerely assessing where you are with all the courage that takes to say, I am here and it's a mess. But at least you know where you are. It's better than saying, I am here and this is so advanced, and actually you are not there. So you are living science fiction movie or something. So you are tripping on something that is not real. So we want the truth, even if it's painful, even if it's difficult, even if it's unsettling and uncomfortable. We don't want to betray ourselves, especially in the name of the highest ideals. We don't want to use bhakti as a mask to pretend that I'm somewhere where I'm not. Higher or even lower. Sometimes we want to insist being lower than where we are invited to be. That's another variety of it. No, I'm so fallen, so I cannot do that. I cannot do. And you are ready to do that, but you are not willing to do. Or I'm so advanced, and no, you are not there yet. You are here. So both are two forms of spiritual bypassing, of escaping from where you actually are. So again, in relationship, all that comes to the surface. So all experience like this, this is a social experiment, bringing 25 people from around the world who do not know each other under the same roof for 2 weeks. Mahaprabhu protects us. We don't want any murder here, anyone jumping from the roof, a massive collective suicide. Please, if you are planning that, talk to me. Let's make some arrangement. We don't want to do that. But some things may happen steering, because again, each one comes with our own baggage, with our own stuff and filters and unresolved stuff and brokenness and fears and assumptions and prejudice. That's life. Let's be realistic. But let's understand that from the bigger picture of that's all taking place in the context of bhakti, in the vessel of the Dham, with some sacred intention in the midst of that. So it's glorious in its own way. Anyhow, this is in connection to the third verse. And I was planning to share many more things, and I think we'll need to continue tomorrow for more. And it's okay. Nam Tattva is something very important. But there is an important point that I want to make that I already made, and I will continue to make, which is this third verse of Shikshastakam, which again is a golden rule for us, is the essence of chanting. It speaks about relationships, which happens to happen outside of the moments that we are chanting the name officially. Whether I'm chanting japa, whether I'm chanting congregationally as we are doing, that's all great and beautiful. But this verse speaking about what happens when the kirtan is over, so to say. What happened when the japa is over? Well, what happened when you finish your 16 rounds, your 8, your 4, your 1, your 0, whatever? What happens next? Let's see. Let's see how you play out your chanting in relationship. And then the whole idea, then you realize, oh, chanting the name is not only chanting the name, but it's learning to relate to everything and everyone in the most loving possible way. Because what is chanting the name? No, some time ago we made a post about that. Chanting the name, and we will talk probably more about that tomorrow, no time now. But the scripture clearly teach abhinatvam namanamino. Between the name and the named, there is no difference. The name of Krishna is Krishna. So when we chant, we are not calling Krishna, who is somewhere, happens to be somewhere else. You say Krishna, and Krishna is already there because he's the name, right? You're not saying Krishna, 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 like calling someone else who is different from the name you're calling. Krishna is the name. So that's his generosity. You say Krishna, he's there. Krishna, yes, he's here. But sometimes when it says Krishna, Krishna, and he's like 3 hours ago, like, here I am. Here I am. It's funny, right? When you call me and I'm here and you keep calling Maharaj, 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 like, are you crazy? I'm here. So anyhow, the name and the named are non-different. So chanting the name means developing my relationship with he who is non-different from the name. It's not chanting the name, it's developing my relationship with God, who is non-different from the name. That's chanting the name. Stay with that for a moment. Right? Developing my relationship with Krishna, that's a translation of chanting the name of Krishna. Chanting is not chanting because I have to chant, I have to fulfill a number per day, check the box, bring the quota. That's not chanting. Chanting is not a musical performance to fulfill my aesthetic sensibilities. It may happen by default, but the actual thing is chanting means growing in my relationship with the name, which means with Krishna. Now, Krishna doesn't exist in a vacuum. Krishna and everything else exists in connection, in relationship. Sambandha means developing my relationship with Krishna entails developing my relationship with everything else and everyone else. That's not separate. So that means chanting the name of Krishna. Chanting the name of Krishna means developing my relationship with Krishna, which means developing my relationship with everything and everyone else, which is not separate from Krishna. So that's a broader, deeper, and more challenging way of defining and conceiving the chanting. But that's the true chanting. Follow my point? Chant Sankirtan. Let's justify the whiteboard for a moment. Sankirtan. What means Sankirtan? Yeah, Kirtan refers to the chanting, the praise, spreading the fun. What's San mean? San. Let's use all colors possible. San. Right? That means a few things. One is Samyak. Samyak Kirtan. Samyak means complete, full Kirtan. Okay, what do we mean by complete, full? Oh, well, some people will say, oh, that means Sangha Kirtan. No, you do Kirtan in Sangha with other people. So it's not by yourself. In the collective, we always experience something that we cannot experience by ourselves. All true, beautiful, great. So, but that doesn't mean just me and the other guys who are playing kartals and mridanga with me, or there's a broader way of saying about that. So San also means Sambandha Kirtan. That's in one sense the most important. That's what makes Sankirtan, Samyak, and Sangha. Sambandha, no? Participate Kirtan with Sambandha, with the knowledge that everything, Bandha, exists in connection with Krishna. Bandha means bonded. Let's make a play of words in English. Bonded. Sam means everything. So whatever exists in the totality of reality is bonded with everything else. So with that knowledge, I can do Sambandha Sankirtan. If my Sankirtan doesn't include Sambandha, doesn't deserve to be called Sankirtan. If I chant just it's between Krishna and me, and I don't know how to relate to everyone else, that's not Sankirtan. Again, Sankirtan is not just bring a few more people so we do Sankirtan. If I'm just by myself, I can do Samkirtan, as we say. But Sankirtan, I need other people. Yeah, you need other people, but you need also the proper conception to lead the chanting. Because the practice of the chanting is Abhideya, the practice itself. But before Abhideya is Sambandha. have the proper conceptual orientation. What I'm doing here? What's this name? What's the implications of the name? The name is Krishna. And what's Krishna? Krishna is Krishna plus whatever exists in connection with Krishna, which happens to be everything. So chanting the name means developing my relationship with everything. As we were saying in UK, you ultimately chanting the name means to fall in love in an absolute way with the totality of reality. There you have it. To fall in love in an absolute way with the totality of reality. Sorry? It's a gradual process. That's why this is verse 3. Of course, Sankirtana appears in verse 1. But it's a gradual process. If it's healthy, it could never be neurotic. That's the realization of all saints and mystics. They are in love with the totality of reality in an absolute way, because they understand everything exists in connection with the object of my affection. Everything ends up being the object of my affection, my compassion, of my love. Again, we are, if it sounds like it could be neurotic, that confirms we are not there yet, with all respect. And who is there yet? I mean, that's that's a very high idea, let's be honest. But we don't want to diminish the ideal for the sake of our convenience, right? I don't want to compromise the dignity of the ultimate ideal so it fits better my current situation. I may not be there yet in a few lifetimes, but still that's the idea. You follow my point? I don't want to diminish and boil down the ideal so it becomes reachable the next weekend. I prefer to stand with the highest, deepest possible idea, even if it takes me lifetimes after life. So that's the idea, and that's where the next verse of Shikshasana will take us. We'll go there to conclude today. Verse 4, with Mahaprabhu say, I don't care coming to this world one life after one life, after another. So then again, chanting the name of Krishna, one more time, let me say it, means developing my relationship with Krishna and with everything. And this relationship is ever evolving, ever fresh, ever new. That's why we will be chanting forever, because there is chanting in eternity. It's not like, okay, I stop chanting now because I reached Golok Vrindavan. No, because chanting means developing your relationship. So that has no end. There's no roof. Ongoing, ever evolving. With God, with everything. Nam Namakari Bahuda, go back to verse 2. Nija Sarva Shaktis. In the name, all Shaktis are there. So what it means, all Shaktis? Tatastha Shakti, Maya Shakti, Swarup Shakti. All that is in the name. And all that means whatever exists. All Shaktis are everything. You have Shaktiman and Shakti. That's a way of saying whatever can exist. Everything is in the name. We are inside the name. It's not this, the name is inside me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in one song, outside of the name, there is nothing in this whole creation. He had that epiphany. And I remember, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur's grace, not Padmanabha Swami's merit, at one time I was in Chile, morning, Japa morning, I cannot forget that, 20 plus years ago. And somehow I felt I had like at least a glimpse of a realization of that line of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like while chanting. It's like everything exists within the name. It came very experiential, very undeniable. It was like, it's not that the name is inside this world, is inside my mouth, but everything is inside the name. Try to stay there for a moment. So if everything is inside the name, chanting the name means relating to whatever is inside the name, which is everything. So it's a whole, it's not again just chanting, it's a whole holistic lifestyle. His wholeness. Srina Prabhu. Not only holiness, but wholeness. Accommodating, all accommodating. I know it's more challenging than just saying, just finish your 16 round per day. That's it. You are done with the name. You are done with the name. Check the box. No. Fall in love with the totality of reality in an absolute way. Gradually. Sustainably, but gradually and realistically. So even if we fail in reaching that goal, at least we are failing in connection to a realistic prospect, rather than being successful as some self-deceptive goal that is not necessary or realistic. So let's go to verse 4 and we will put the sharing to rest today. But this all is about Nam Tattva. I hope you can keep the thread going and connected, and how this all relates to Navadvip and Gaur Leela and Mahaprabhu. It's all tied, Sambandha. So because of this, Mahaprabhu in the fourth verse, which relates to the stage of Ruchi, when you have a taste for the name. I'm not saying we do not have the taste before Ruchi, but in Ruchi you have a taste proper. Taste with capital T. And that's what Mahaprabhu say, Nadhanam Najanamna Sundarim Kavitam Ba. I'm not attracted to followers, fame, position, sense enjoyment, knowledge, poetry. Even Kavi can mean also the knowledge that takes to liberation. I don't care for mukti. Wow, that's outrageous for many people. For many people, it's dharma, artha, kama, moksha. It all finishes in moksha. Mahaprabhu say, I don't care for moksha. I have taste for the holy name. Who cares for moksha? You have prayers like that for in devotees, speaking from a place of bhava. Who cares for that moksha? The name, I'm tasting the name. Like Rupa Goswami, he's tasting the name. He's not asking for moksha. He's not asking. The only thing he can ask is, "Tunde tanda viniratim vitanute tundavali labdhaye karna kroda kadam vini gatayate karnarvu devyaspya chetu prangana sangini vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim no jane janithaki advidamrithai krishneti varnam dvai." Oh, how much nectar is there here in these two syllables, Krishna. The only thing I can ask for, not mukti, not all that stuff. Krishna, please, in a desperate way, Rupa Goswami, please give me millions of years, because I only have two. And so much nectar is coming from these two syllables. I don't know what to do with 2 years. It's too little for receiving and hosting so much nectar descending from the name. And if I can add something to my petition, give me millions of tongues to properly honor and relish and host the nectar, the descending current from these two syllables, Krishna. I have only one tongue. Creator has been so unjust to me. One tongue, 2 years only. If I can pray for something, give me millions of all that stuff, ears, tongues, so I can do proper justice to what I'm relishing through the name. That's Ruchi and beyond. So when you feel that, you don't care for anything, and even Mahaprabhu said, Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti. I only want to continue doing this. I only to continue doing bhakti for the sake of bhakti. We say that in theory, but in practice still we may want some relief from suffering and some this, some enjoyment, some blah. It's okay, Krishna say we have to begin somewhere. But when you have a real taste for the name, you know this is the real deal here. And you just want to do that for the sake of that, to serve that, to honor that. Nam Seva. You are not just relishing the name in a selfish way, like sense enjoyment, but you are offering yourself for the pleasure of the name. The name gives so much pleasure that you want to offer yourself for the pleasure of the name. But this Ruchi, again, before reaching that, and then there are 4 other verses in the Shikshastakam. And the remaining will speak about the arising of our eternal spiritual identity, the agony of separation, the blessed communion in divine union, and the very last verse of Shikshastakam, as we say the other day, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami say this was spoken by Radha. No? Mahaprabhu entered into Radha Bhava and became successful by the grace of Gadadhar Pandit. Don't forget that part, please. But again, all that is beautiful, but that will be more beautiful when we reach there in a natural way, realistically, by first going to the first verses that we spend some time sharing today. And all this is connected to Nam Tattva, the truth of the name, how to make the name truth real, how to approach the reality of chanting from a realistic perspective. So a few thoughts I want to share with you. This is only half of what I was thinking about sharing. So probably tomorrow we can spend some more time ruminating on this. But let's do a brief exercise together to further internalize and move whatever ideas we've been sharing today. So in groups of 3, you will be invited. Simple format, just invite to share for a few minutes what's resonating for you now after what we share in the morning. What's vibrating, something touched you especially, and why, whatever you feel to share regarding the relevance of what has been shared today in the morning. Yeah. Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Navadvip Dham Parikram ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Bol.